This is Groove Talk with Froggy Style.
Welcome to another episode of Groove Talk, everybody. On this episode, I am joined virtually by Darren Ollinger. And
That's me.
Yep, it's you. And you are the front man for YYC punk band Julius Sumner Miller.
Yeah, that's my band.
Yeah. So I guess just to start off, why don't you give a little bit of kind of background information on yourself as well as the band, maybe?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm an old man, so I have a lot of history. So how long do we got, man? I'm just a Calgary punk rocker, I guess, for lack of any other term. I moved here in like 91. Did high school here, college here, worked here, still work here. Love this town, or love this city passionately, but I don't know. You know what I mean? In 2013, we started this band called Julius Sumner Miller, all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada as well. And here we are now. What is it? 8 years and 4 albums later, and still going at it, man. So
awesome. Yeah. That's quite a time to be in a band for. That's 8 years is a pretty long time. So
yeah.
No, I guess how has the band changed over those years?
Well, you go through members. Yeah. you'll some come, some go, kind of thing. But musically, you can hear it on all the albums, just the progression of song complexity and structure and stuff like that. So the first album is a ripping, good time, party, drinking, punk rock kind of thing. But by this album, it's like we have all those, we dabble it, we still hit all those points, but now we're doing odd time signatures and weird breaks and stuff like that. So we're definitely not sticking to one sort of mold, so to speak.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, after listening to your most recent album that you guys just released, Try It Out. I can see, like, the first impression that I get is that it's like it's an album that it makes me want to go to the bar with my friends and just like sing along and party. But then, like what you said, it does have those weird time signatures, and like the song that I'm thinking of specifically right now, I think it's the third song, where it starts off like very kind of slow and groovy, and then all of a sudden it like switches up and it goes like into that kind of fast punk rock thing. Yeah. So
keep you on your toes, man. So
yeah.
Yeah, like we still write the hooks. We have hooks for days on that record, and it's a catchy sing-along album of epic proportion. But it's kind of cool that you listen to it one time and you're hooked on the hooks, and then you're listening to the second time and you find yourself singing along, and by the third time you're noticing these weird things that are happening underneath, or interesting parts that maybe didn't hit the brain on the first pass by or the second pass over, right?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I would definitely agree with that. And I mean, like, just giving it a full listen through like a couple of times already, and like some of the songs are already kind of stuck in my head, you know. There's those earworms for sure.
Well, that's it's one thing to write a record. It's another thing to write a record that people want to listen to over and over again. And we're getting a lot of feedback on this, that's what's happening on this album. And a lot of people are buying it. A lot of people are listening to it on the digitals, and they're all like, no joke, they're trying it out, so to speak. And it's really going over, and it's not a negative on our old records, because those records are fantastic. But this one, we've just seemed to really hit the pocket on a lot more earbuds.
Just, I guess, curious, in terms of writing this record to some of your older records, did the process change at all, or?
Not really. I think we had the luxury of a little more time with this one. Like I think we had the songs pretty much written before we hit the studio, as opposed to kind of like being 85% ready, then you hit the studio and you're noodling around. This time it was just, we had practiced them enough that it was just, you felt you really knew where you were going on that. And I think that process helped. So I think the next time, when we do the next record, I'll definitely want to be more just ready to go for it. Cause that felt comfortable. That felt really comfortable knowing what you're going to sound like and what it's going to do. And then so you do make these little changes, and it's kind of an addition to the awesomeness already when you don't have to overthink everything. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. Was this record written like pre-pandemic or kind of in the middle of it,
Yeah.
or is pre?
No, we wrote the whole thing right before we had the studio time booked already. And then COVID hit. And the studio was still cool. They were like, yeah, let's come and record this record. So we moved into the studio at the start of April for 4 or 5 days there, and just like literally moved into this fancy studio and stayed away from everybody and got the work done. And it was such a trip. The whole thing was like, well, we're living in a studio in this beautiful mansion, and we're cooking each other dinners, and this camaraderie was just growing while we're watching the news. And it's just like, what are we doing this for? This is fun. Let's embrace it. But like, is there going to be a world in 3 weeks? Because it was right at the start of it where you're just like, oh my God, like the news was just like, it still is dire, but I think we're so accustomed to it now. It's not scary anymore. Yeah. So that was the first couple of weeks. It was just like, yikes. let's go write a record about Parmesan,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you might maybe even got in there right at the right time, right? Because like all the music post-pandemic, I feel like there's going to be a lot of like heavy tones towards the pandemic, right?
Exactly. You're absolutely right about that. We're really been lucky that we didn't do that. And now that we're writing new stuff, I'm making a point of trying not to even talk about it, because I think when this is all said and done, it's just going to look like a glaring date stamp on, and it'll age. I don't know how well it'll age. Like you watch those TV shows that are all trying to adapt to it now, and they're having the court sessions and they're all wearing masks. And I'm like, if this is done in 4 or 5 years and you're watching this back, or if you're watching it in 20 years and you have like you're born after the pandemic, you'd be like, why is this happening? So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like a really old cell phone in a movie, and you can tell when it's like, oh, that was clearly 2001.
Yeah.
Because that was
Yeah. Or people have like landlines still, and you're like, oh, okay, this is pretty old then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard like, a lot of bands tend to kind of move in together when they are hitting the recording studio. I've talked to a lot of bands who do it that way, and it always seems to produce like they always have like the time of their lives, and it seems to produce some like really kind of awesome albums in my opinion. All the ones that I've listened to by bands who do it that way have been phenomenal. So I guess, do you think that there is an advantage to kind of doing it the way you guys did it versus doing it maybe some other ways?
Well, when you're all there, you're kind of like your spouses and the people know that you're in the studio for 4 days and you've booked this amount of time, and it's kind of like you have way more focus. There's less of an actual outside distraction for you. So that was noticeable, but because before you'll be like, okay, I can come in and rip off my vocals from 10 in the morning till 2, and then I got to go to work from 2 till 6, and then I can come back and finish them. You know what I mean? And so when you have that break in the process, it slows it down. What does it? I don't know if it slows down the process, but it kind of kills the vibe of the whole thing. So when you're actually, when everybody's just has their blinders on for making the album, it's like, yep, see you on Monday, sweetheart. Yeah. Bye, work. See you on Monday. You know, and then you can just kind of close the door to the outside world and just really dig into it.
Yeah, no.
And sit around, and it's also nice when you're in a nice place, because when you're just going to record vocals and your drummer goes for just tracking drums for a day, and then it's the one of the guitar players' turn, you're just sitting there. You could have went and worked 2 shifts, but it's nice that when they get out, you're there to root them on. You're like, great job, man, and stuff like that. And you're soaking it all in, so you're there for everybody. So it's a bizarre, in office terms, it's like team building. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I could I can even just see the advantage of, for 5 days, that's all that you're focused on. You don't worry about work and stuff like that. And I could just see that being by itself being like a great advantage to be like, I'm sure if you have to go track a guitar or something, but you're worried about, but I have to get to work at this time or whatever, that's going to play.
I better get this done or else.
Yeah. It's going to play on your mind, and it's going to add a little bit more pressure, I feel. Whereas the way that you guys did it, it kind of maybe, I don't want to say lifts the pressure entirely, but it maybe gives you a little bit more kind of like wiggle room.
Yeah, there's definitely less pressure to that. Yeah. The one downfall to this system was when you're at a fancy studio, you're doing the 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 route on the actual work of it, and then you're just hanging out. Where if you get into a different studio scenario, I love the fact that if the producer's feeling it and you're tracking and everything's going well, he's just like, yeah, let's just keep going. And next thing you know, you go for like 15 hours and you're like, holy crap, we just got a lot done there. So there's that sneaky accomplishment when you're like, yeah, we just recorded 12 songs in 12 hours. Like, it's so, and by the time at the end of it, it's 5 a.m. and no one can talk because we've all been yelling and having a good time. So there's no wrong way. There's nothing bad about no matter what. Sorry, let me say this better for you. No matter what route you take in recording a record, you're still making an album, and it's still the coolest damn thing in the world.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
When you get to your 4th or 5th record in your life, you really start to learn. The benefit is you start to learn what works and what doesn't work for you in the process of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I feel like that's, like that can be applied to almost any creative endeavor that anybody takes.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I think that a lot of people, when they first start something, it's real easy to like give up because it's hard at first. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But like when you stick with it, you put in the work and you kind of find out what works for you and stuff like that. And it becomes, in my opinion, it becomes more fun. It becomes easier and more enjoyable altogether, I would say.
Yeah. Well, all those words are so true. The artist side of things should be fun, and it should be entertaining, and it should be rewarding. And if you're not getting any of those things out of it, change the scenario or stop. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing things, just me personally, if I'm doing that without those settings in mind, it's like, we got to change something, because what we just did there for the last 3 hours wasn't fun, and let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it needs to be rewarding, and if it's not, then put the brakes on it. Change your hat or change your t-shirt or buy a different brand of beer or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it might be a little thing like that, or it might be, I don't really want to hang out with this guy anymore, so let's do something about that. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's going to sound super cliche because cliches are cliche for a reason, but it is it is about the journey and not the destination, as they say, I guess, right?
Well, they say it. You're absolutely right.
They do.
There's nothing wrong with that because you can't get to your destination without. You need to get to 7-Eleven. You still got to drive there, right? So.
Yeah. So I guess maybe could you walk us through what it has been like to release an album, kind of in the middle of the world that we're living in now with the pandemic and everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. We released it, and we were like, we're not playing live shows, so who the hell's gonna buy this stuff? Because that's we're old school, where we're built on play for people, then after, perform for them, dazzle them with your performance, and then they will give you money to buy records. And now we don't have that outlet, and we're just like, excuse me, we're like, how is this going to work? And we thought, well, let's figure out a plan. And we decided we're like, there's not many bands right now releasing albums, so let's bomb the internet and just make a point of getting out there and getting in front of people's faces and hustling. And it's paying off crazy amounts. Our digital listeners are through the roof. I've sold gads of records in the last month. I'm blown away by the response. And I think we might have been lucky too, because we were one of the first bands out of the gate with new material to show things, and and it's lucky for us too, everybody's in a support mode. And so it's like, yeah, well, let's support the band of these guys that we know, and they're cool music. I'll give you $20.
Yeah. And
we got a lot of free time, so it's nice. I drive records to people, and they give me $20, and I take a picture of them, and I don't think I would have done that 2 years ago, but it's fun as hell now to make it happen. And I don't know, call me crazy, but if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, I'm a fan of this band for the rest of my life. So thanks, COVID, for making us a little more popular than we were before.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would agree with you. If when you take the time to interact with your fans like that, whether they're buying a record or even if it's just like a DM or whatever, and you take the time to respond to it, that really does mean a lot to the people who are, messaging you or buying stuff from you and stuff like that. It adds that like nice personal touch that, like you said, you probably made lifelong fans now.
Yeah, hopefully, ideally, and also I'm not doing it for that selfish reason too. It's like, for me personally, if somebody's reaching out, I'd love to hear what they're up to or how they're doing or checking in on them, because I'm on the same boat as them too. Like I'm like, I don't have that much contact with people. I'd love to chat with you too, and it's healthy, and I love finding out about people and how they're doing, if they're okay, if I can help them, if they can help me. So, and if by help it's like, hey, check out my video, or you might laugh at this, or want to buy a record, or I'd love to bring a record over to your house. So I don't know. It's just, I'm lucky that JSM wrote this record and recorded it and put it out, because it was a very nice break or distraction from the gloom of COVID over the last year. And I think that totally made me not as bummed out as I probably might have been, but I can't speak to, because I had this healthy distraction of, oh man, we got the mixes back, let's have a listen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, just what you kind of touched on a little bit there, I feel the same way just doing this podcast, right? Like I get to talk to people like you and all the other cool musicians who live within Calgary or even Western Canada now, because I'm doing the video chat thing. But it's a nice, healthy distraction, and it's awesome to find out how other people are doing and just like get a look into their lives and what they're doing, and just connect with people. That's what it's all about, right?
And it's fun too, because I don't know, I have this real glimmer of positivity on my personal life in the last year, which is weird to say, you know what I mean? But it forced me to slow down so much, because I was just going, working 10 jobs and trying to be there for this person and trying to be there for that and trying to do that and trying to make this happen. And it stopped me. And now I'm being more creative, reading, walking, listening to tunes, like just watching movies and like stuff that you take for granted because you never had the time for it. So you didn't know how nice it was to get up at 6:30 in the morning, and because for some reason you're just watching a David Cronenberg movie. It's like, this is awesome, man. Like, I don't have to be anywhere for a couple hours and nobody cares. This is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I definitely agree with that. And I feel like it's kind of given us all a little bit of perspective, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the fact that, like, I mean, I haven't been to a live show since the summer, and even then it was just a drive-in show, right? But like when live shows come back, it's going to be absolutely bonkers, I feel, because like
yeah,
it no longer will it be like, oh, this person's playing, like I'll just catch them next time. It'll be like, I need to see this person because I don't know what live shows are going to look like in the next year or so, right? So
yeah, well, especially for the first little while. For the first couple of shows, it's just like everybody will be like, yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna pay attention to the opening band.
yeah, exactly.
And then give it about 6 weeks, and then everybody will be like, what time are you playing? Can I get on the guest list? Sorry, can't make it.
Yeah.
Gonna sit at home.
Yeah.
But I think for that first 3 or 4 month window, it's just gonna be magical. Mm-hmm. I'm like you. I can't wait to be on one side of the stage or on the stage or just having a good time and killing it, man. That's, if I don't get to do it again how it was before COVID, I'll be a sad kid. Mm-hmm. So I hope it happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. You know, people have tried to kind of, I guess, provide virtual shows and stuff like that, but it's obviously not the same. There's something kind of like intangible about getting together in a cramped bar with a bunch of people shoulder to shoulder with really loud music, you know.
Singing along and drinking beer, and the camaraderie of it and the community of it is what's there. But you and your friend, or you and your spouse, or your cohort sit at home watching somebody play a show on your laptop. It's great to support them, but it's not the same. Like, even if it's the most amazing thing in the world, if I bought a Rush DVD from them playing in Rio and I watched it on TV, I'd be like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
But if I was in Rio watching it, that would be the greatest day of my life. Do you know what I mean? So you can have that. You can't have it unless it's there live, man.
Yeah.
So,
no, I definitely agree. That's a great analogy too. Like, that's perfect, right? Because if you saw Rush live in Rio, that's like one of the greatest days of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you watched it on DVD, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a Tuesday, exactly. Have you guys kind of tried to take advantage of any of the streaming stuff at all, or you kind of just...
No, well, a couple of people asked us about it, and I think, like, we're a punk band, we don't make much money, so I think the actual, we looked into it a little bit, the production cost of just filming it and getting the stream to 20 people like watch it, I don't know, it doesn't seem, we're not in a league of anybody to be pulling that off or trying it.
Yeah.
We did play live in October at Dickens Pub, and that was pretty weird, behind the plexiglass, and everybody was seated, so it was fun. Don't get me wrong, we had a blast, and we did it solely just to support Dickens and try to get them some money, because the venue is much more important than the band itself, because you can't have one without the other. So when they asked, it was like, absolutely, take every cent you make tonight, you put it and pay for, I don't know, your heat or something, whatever they used with it. But it's still we're a party performance band where people get loose and dance their asses off in front of us and sing into the mic, yell in the microphone with us. And when no one's doing that, it's like, oh, I feel silly.
Yeah, no, I could imagine that for sure. And I feel like some bands and some styles of bands are maybe affected a little bit more than others. You know, if you are just a solo artist, acoustic guitar, singer, songwriter,
you can play anywhere, man.
Anywhere, you can do a live stream, you can take advantage of that. But exactly like you said, a band like you guys, where it's this like punk rock sing along, basically, where you want to jump around and like bob around and sing along at the top of your lungs with a beer in hand. It's kind of hard, I feel like, to do or to take advantage of that live stream for sure.
Yeah, it was until somebody figures it out. Let me know, and I'd love to try it. But I don't know. We're blessed enough that we're not in any level of importance that it would matter anyway if you did it or not, right? So.
Yeah. Something that you guys have been doing, and that I just the videos that you guys have actually been making and putting out have been they've been real fun, and they've caught my eye for sure. So maybe
that's the plan, man.
Yeah. Especially the last one. What's it called? The one with all the people on it that you guys got.
Singing for no one.
Yeah, singing for no
playing
one.
for nobody.
Yeah,
playing for nobody. Yeah. That was cool. That was fun. We did that in about September. We just sent out a message to a bunch of our pals, and I think about 40 people got back to us saying they'd filmed themselves singing along to the song, and then they sent the videos back to us, and then Monty, our guitar player / music video editor extraordinaire, just cut it all together, and we made it hilarious. And it was so cool to know that you had that many pals that support you, and just to do that stuff. And it was to see the feedback on it, and just my favorite part was watching the faces of the people that were doing it, knowing that they were having fun doing that. And it was like unintentionally, you wrote this song called Playing for Nobody, but it came out in a pandemic with everybody bored at home. It's like, yeah, of course I'm going to light up my phone and sing along because this is silly, but it's a really positive song, and it's fun, and so it needed a video that accompanied the subject matter, and we're pretty community based and positive, so it was neat to have all our friends from like Vancouver all the way to guys from the Creep Show in Toronto and a bunch of Edmonton bros and stuff like that. So it's neat that I say we're this little band, but it's neat that we have pockets of fans all over this lovely country of ours that would actually go out of their way to film themselves singing along to our silliest little song.
Yeah. And it was kind of a treat too, because, you know, if you're kind of aware of the Canadian music scene, I guess there's a lot of people that you recognize in there too, right? So you're like, oh fuck, yeah, cool, that person, like.
yeah. And it wasn't, and I know we weren't trying to pander, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't trying to get looks to it or look at who we know or nothing like that. It was just like, this song needs friends of ours singing with us. Like, it commands this idea, so let's make it happen. And then it was funny too, because there's a bunch of I still get messages from the people that didn't reply. Oh man, I'm kicking myself for not being part of that video now. And it's like, yeah. Bummer, man.
Yeah.
Missed out.
Yeah, should have jumped on that one.
But it's cool too. That's what's nice about having the COVID time is you got time to create or sit around and come up with music video ideas. Like we did a music video for Red Dawn off our last record in the summer. We filmed that. It was hilarious and fun. We did Playing for Nobody, and we did Recurring Nightmare off the new record too, and that video kills, man. And there's so many good things. We have another video coming out for Don't Believe in Anime in a couple of weeks here too, and it's it's bonkers cool too, man. Like, it's just fun how much. It's crazy that we wrote, recorded, released an album with 12 songs on it, and did four music videos. We're working on a fifth one right now during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And most other people are like, I haven't even gone to the grocery store yet.
Yeah. I haven't
Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a competition, but it's just in context, it's crazy to think about how much we pulled off. And I wonder, and I wonder about to myself if we would have ever been this productive in a non-COVID world.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I kind of feel like the pandemic kind of hit people like one of two ways, and people either got like fell apart and just no creative energy or anything like that, or they like almost thrived, and they just like started, like the creative juices just started flowing, and they just started putting out content.
Yeah, it's definitely an either or scenario.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the other side of it, because I feel for them too, right? So it's not like it's a right or wrong thing. It's just how you dealt with it, kind of thing. So
yeah, no, I mean, personally, I kind of, at the beginning of it, I was like on the non-productive kind of sit at home, not knowing what to do side. And then as it continued on, it was like, okay, well, this is going to be a thing for a while. And you kind of just, I don't know, you figure it out and you find ways of how to work around it. And I guess you find your motivation again. And for me personally, I kind of fell in love with, I guess, the art again.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I found myself doing silly things for my own personal entertainment. And I'm sure you might be in the same boat, or I know some pals are too. But I remember one night, me and my wife, we were just walking around, and we walked by the liquor store at down the street beside my 7-Eleven, and I stopped in, and they had a 40-ounce bottle of Old English, like the old, and I hadn't drank one of those since I was 18, and I'm like 44 now. So I was like, and it was 6 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get one of those. And I just got it. And I just walked around my neighborhood drinking malt liquor like I was a teenager. And I was like, I don't care. And it was just so funny that I would have never had this hilarious story years or because of this. So it's just the random things. I meet my buddy Rob from Ghost Factory. You know that band Ghost Factory, and he plays in the Adavants too. Both fantastic bands. But he kind of lives in my neighborhood, and we'll just meet behind Walmart. And just bring a 6-pack and just stand there in the winter, in the summer, whatever, and we just talk about life for 20 minutes or a half an hour, have a couple beers, and then, all right, see you later, man. So it's these little moments are definitely going to be looked back upon. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hilarious, because I can guarantee you those things would have never been done in 2019 when, oh, I got to work now. Oh, I got to work again. Oh, I got to go band practice. Oh, I got to pick up my kid from baseball. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. So
Yeah. No,
like, do you have you found yourself doing some weird things like that?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's the countless amounts of driveway beers that I've had with people, you know what I mean? Like, you all bust out your lawn chairs and sit on a driveway, and you're like, okay, like, you know, this isn't something that you would typically do if like there was an option not to, I guess. But it's just
like ever, right?
Yeah. It's like, why would we sit on the driveway and have beers? But it's like, well, it's what we're doing right now, right? So
You think you're still going to have driveway beers when they do open it up?
I don't know.
If it ever gets.
I mean,
like, I think there's part of me where I'm like, I like some of these things.
Yeah.
Like, I like wearing a mask in public because I feel like I'm not going to sneeze on anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll keep doing that. I like meeting somebody, dropping a record off to somebody and having a coffee on their porch, you know, like just talking about life for 20 minutes. It's not all day. It's a 15-minute chat. And, you know, you just don't do that stuff in the olden days.
Yeah.
Or before time or whatever. BC, before COVID, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even like this, what we're doing right now, it's like beforehand, the podcasts that I did were, it was either I'll come to you or you can come to my house or whatever. I
Yeah,
never even
yeah.
gave the option to do this virtually, right? Um, but I found that like even just, you're in the comfort of your home, I'm in the comfort of my home. We're both very comfortable in our environments, right? So I feel
Yeah.
like the conversation flows a little bit better because we're both at ease.
Oh, I can totally relate to that, especially because there's not a microphone in your face or like you're not in someone else's house. That's my least favorite thing in the world is going to other people's because it's like they have the home field advantage. It's like I don't even know where to pee if I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
do I take my shoes off? What do I do here?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the last time we chatted was back in 2017. And I
Because of
think
the ship, right?
yeah, I was at the ship.
Yeah,
So I mean
exactly right.
yeah, so even just like showing up to the ship and anchor with all my gear and being like, okay, like I need at least an outlet that has, a full outlet with two plugs in because I need to plug this in,
Yeah,
I need to plug this in, and then, you know, it's like who's going to be sitting beside us? Are they going to be rowdy? Are they going to be quiet? Like it's all these things and
yeah. Like, what were we thinking?
yeah.
We should have been like, no.
No, honestly, I've had great conversations in bars too. Like I've done a few now with a
Oh,
couple,
absolutely.
yeah, with a couple different bands, but it's just like I don't know. This is something like I said, like us both being comfortable in our own
Yeah,
environments. I feel like it helps the conversation flow a little bit better for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And I like the I like doing those podcasts in the bar setting when it's the group of like when it's a couple of band members or two or three, because then everybody's kind of in the conversation together around a table, so to speak, and you have a pint or something like that. You feel a little more loose. But I've had a couple of podcasts, not with my band, but in other scenarios, or just Zoom meetings and stuff, where there's four different people in four different places, and no one's sure when to talk, and no one's sure who to look at. So I find the one-on-one thing that we're doing right now is optimum for this stuff. But the more people that are brought on board in these calls and stuff, it's like going for an office lunch with nine people, and they
Yeah.
all want to sit at the same table, and you're like, cool, like waving down at the end of the table, hey Dave,
Yeah.
how about those flames? Right? It's just pointless exercise is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're yelling at you're trying to have a conversation over top of like four other conversations that are happening. Like
And nobody really cares about anything that anybody's talking about.
yeah.
Nobody gives a shit what I'm saying. I definitely don't care what she's talking about, and I definitely don't care what he's talking about. And it's like, well, why do humans do this to themselves, man?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think from this pandemic, I think something that we kind of all maybe learned um, is that you don't need those kind of like interactions. It's more fulfilling to have these one-on-one interactions, or
Absolutely.
like you said, going and visiting, dropping off records and chatting for 20 minutes. Like that's way more fulfilling than like showing up and to a group of people and trying to like figure that out and navigate that or whatever.
Yeah, my birthday party's at 9 o'clock, and we'll be at this place. And there's a reservation. And if you want to come, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't, that's cool too. And it's like, I don't want to go to that. That sounds horrible. So
Yeah, yeah,
like I'm almost up to my second birthday in the lockdown, right?
yeah.
Because mine's end of April, and I remember the first time I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I don't have to worry about trying for my birthday." And then this year I was like, "Yeah, I kind of want to do something."
Yeah.
So it's been long enough where I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I should care again."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got kind of lucky because my birthday happens in the summertime, so it was like, it was kind of in that time where like we could meet outside, so there was a little bit of a small, tiny
Kager,
gathering, but
Kager in the park.
yeah.
That's all.
But yeah. Um, So I just want to take kind of, I guess, a deep dive into the album a little bit. There's like a couple
Yeah, I'd
songs.
love to, man.
Yeah, there's a couple songs that I'm really curious about, like kind of how they were created and maybe if there is a story behind
Yeah.
them or not. The first one that like it puts a smile on my face every single time it comes on, but Cheap Parmesan. Like I just want to know how
Yeah.
that song was created.
Oh, that song was. We were playing Vancouver with this band called ATD. They're an amazing band from Vancouver. Check them out if you can. And Ben, the lead singer, we were at his house waiting for the other band to pick us up in the van so we could get in the van to go to the ferry to play Victoria that night. And him and his partner were complaining about the outrageous prices of Parmesan cheese. And I was like, yeah, and I made some sort of joke, or somebody made a joke. I think it was me, but I'm not going to 100% credit. I was like, yeah, we need 2008 prices where Parmesan was cheap. And then somebody else was like, yeah, and Harper was committing war crimes. And we were laughing. We just started laughing. And I'm like, and then true JSM songwriting techniques. It's somebody says something funny and I'm like, we should write a song about that. And then a day later, we've written a song about that. So we were driving to the ferry. And by the time we were like at the venue in Victoria, we were like, cheap Parmesan, cheap Parmesan, cheap Parmesan, and war crimes. And then we thought, what a funny, flippant, dumb protest song, right? And then so the very first part of the verse, there's a band called Crass from the 80s. I don't know if you know. And they were like extreme anti-government and stuff like that. And I thought, man, would that be funny if I used a couple lyrics from their song? They like didn't steal it, like used it with that notion of how hilarious we're using these swing your fist in the air and bring down the government, and we're singing it with Parmesan in mind. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And then it became this total fight song that's like take down politics with cheap Parmesan, man.
Yeah.
And I think that really captures the essence of JSM, where it could be serious if you want to talk about it, but things are funny. So let's just have tongue-in-cheek hilarity with things like that. Like, I don't really want you to throw some Parmesan cheese at Jason Kenney's head, but if you did, it's not my fault, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, that song is just like so punk rock to me. It's like I think it's under a minute long, and just like it's like you said, it can be serious if you want it to be serious, but it's also just hilarious that you're singing about Parmesan. Like
exactly, and that sums it up best. It's like, we can, if you really want to get into this can be the most serious song ever written in the history of time.
Yeah,
but it's about Parmesan.
It's about Parmesan, yeah. Yeah, I like yeah, it's like everything I like about punk rock just like boiled down into one quick song that it puts a smile on my face every time I listen to it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, glad to hear that.
Yeah. So the other song that I'm kind of curious about is Frugal Man. Is that the name of the? Yeah.
The Frugal Man. Yeah.
Frugal Man. Yeah. So I guess is there a story behind that song or?
Well, not. I was driving to band practice one day, and I went in there, and I was like, because we always go out of our way to do different things every song, so it's not the same 12 songs in a record. And we've been attempting that forever. It's like, oh, we can't do this song again. We have to do something else. And then I was just like, well, what about just doing a really chill and those guys were into it. And then they just kind of wrote it. And I'm like, count to 8 or whatever. And it's just like, stop here. I'm like, no, let's like keep it long, man. And long. And we got to it. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm basically exposing myself because I'm not hiding behind this ruckus. And so I challenged myself to do a little creative writing there. And I just there's no story behind the lyrics. Well, there might be, but I don't know if it's any of your business.
That's fair.
But I was just, the challenge was to get crafty enough and still be comfortable with performing it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And when I did it in the studio, I was like, oh, I don't know. And honestly, when I heard it back, I was like, oh man, like I love this, man. It was just it's the equivalent of somebody posing in their bathing suit. You know what I mean? When they're getting their picture taken, they're like, I don't know. And then you see it develop. You're like, ooh, I look good. You know? So
yeah,
it's not a braggadocious thing, but I was just so worried about, is this going to come across as silly or stupid or sound terrible? And it didn't. It sounded. And then by the time we get to the chorus and stuff, and it just sounds like this buildup of importance, and that song feels important, and it feels like I wrote it to a point that it doesn't matter what my story is, but if you listen to it, you can probably relate to the characters that are being sung about and put your own person to that. So that was really the attempt of it. So it wasn't like this story is about Dave. It was just, we're just talking about a person or people, and I think that makes it more relatable. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, totally. That's like the one word that kind of pops into my head when we talk about that song, is it is very relatable. It's one of the more, it seems kind of like, I don't want to say serious, but
that's a serious song, man. Yeah,
yeah.
it could be interpreted as mean, or it can be interpreted as desperate, or we're not laughing about Parmesan with that one.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's the counterbalance for me too. I can be as silly as you want, but it's also really important for me personally, and I can speak for the band members, that it's not all jokes. Like, you want a love song? Here you go. You want a serious song? Here you go. It's pretty cool to have all those in your repertoire or your back pocket. So the broad range of punk rock, so to speak.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I like about the album as a whole is, you do have those kind of, it has a little bit of everything. It has kind of maybe something that seems a little bit more silly, like the Parmesan song, but then you do have the Frugal Man, which is more serious. And honestly, it's one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it just, like I said, it's relatable because I work that 9 to 5 job or whatever, and it's like I feel like I'm the person in the song. So it's like relatable.
Oh, that's
to me.
cool.
Yeah, it's like relatable to me in that way. But then it's also like, this is kind of like an anthem for the person who is fine with that, but also likes to party, like goes out and goes to shows on the weekends and weekdays and stuff like that. And that's just like, it kind of encapsulates my experience a little bit, I feel, which is
cool.
Is neat. Yeah.
Well, that's the cool thing about it too, is it's not, your interpretation isn't wrong, isn't right. You know what I mean? It's your interpretation. And the cool thing about writing a song like that is the fact that I bet if we lined up 10 people, we'd probably get 9 or 10 different interpretations of it to you. And I think that's cool, man. So
yeah. And because the lyrics are obviously like vague enough that it could apply to, like you said, 9 or 10 different situations. So, and I feel like that's kind of like the art of writing like a song, right? Is you don't want to be too specific because you want it to be broad so that more people can relate to it.
You're absolutely right. The only time you want to be real specific is if you're trying to be real specific. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're just singing about a person you work with or a guy you got to pull back a bit and write about not just that person. You got to write. Yeah, you just got to write about a broader stroke of that person, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's fun though. That's cool. I love that you dig that, man. That's a fun song, man.
Yeah, no, like it's on the first listen through of the album, it's the one that I was attracted to the most, and every time I listen to it still, it's like I don't know, there's something like different about that song I find to the rest of the album. Like it still fits with the album, but like it's like the serious counterbalance kind of to all the other songs almost.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. That's why it's there, right? And it's like, because it doesn't, some people, it would, the fact that it is in place with the 11 other bangers, I think a lot of people resonate to it because it's just like, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
And then you listen to it again, wow, this is really good. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's not any better or worse than the other songs. It's just this great song that's just different. So it's noticeable.
Yeah, for sure. And it still has that like rocking chorus to it too. So like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the chaotic end of that is just nuts. Like Scotty's drums on that stuff is just, it just feels like that person, whoever we're talking about, it's just like that world is either changing for the positive or falling off the cliff or whatever you want to interpret it. But that something is, it's just like, we're throwing your papers in the air and leaving work or whatever, right? It's just, it's such a neat contrast to the prettiness of the minimalist verse guitar playing. So
yeah, no, definitely agree. The final kind of song I guess I'm curious about, and I mean it's okay if you don't want to, but it is "This Town Sucks."
Yeah.
So it's I
love it, man.
Yeah, it's clearly fine if you don't want to maybe mention which town it is specifically about, or even if it's about a town, it could just be.
No, I think it's about Calgary to me.
Okay.
And I think it's about, if somebody else was living in Edmonton and listening to that, it would be about their town.
Yeah.
And if somebody was listening in Winnipeg or Regina or Tulsa, Oklahoma or whatever, and they heard this, they'd be like, there's a lot of dumb things about every town, right? and it's you can perceive it as this giant negative FU to a city, but it's kind of like this jaded love letter to the town you adore, right? So like, well, this is the town, this is my town, so only I can say these things about it, right? You can't, like if somebody else told me Calgary sucks, I'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Only I can say that, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
No, it's not specific to anything. It's just, it's kind of a contrast of all me as a booker over the years, or playing shows, or a lot of the dumb things I've heard and expected to deliver. It's like, this is such a dumb town, and I can guarantee you that somebody in Victoria or Vancouver is thinking the exact same thing. So
yeah,
that's why I kept it vague again. It was this town, not Calgary sucks.
Yeah.
You know, so. And I think we also love it too, because I want to play, when we start playing live, I want to, when we're in Saskatoon or Regina or something, would that be a great show ender on a set?
Yeah.
And if the town's into it and they're singing along with you, that'd be the most powerful moment. On the flip side, if there's nobody there, you can sing that "This Town Sucks" and mean it, because I don't want to be here right now. Yeah. Nobody else is.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's a good show ender, and I guess a litmus test for your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you never, and it's a harmless. It's not like, it's not mean. It's not like we have the harmony on that and stuff is like beautiful. So it's like I said again, it's like Parmesan. This can be as deep and as mean as you want it to be, or it's singing a song about Boston pizza, man. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And it's kind of like, you can say as much shit about your own friends or your own town or, whatever. But as soon as somebody else who you don't know says that shit, it becomes an issue. And I feel like that song kind of, I guess, encapsulates the spirit of that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not in a humorous kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, there's no malice behind any of it or venom. So
Yeah, no.
It's fun. It's playful. And like you can't, like I said about with the harmonies, and when they're like, "This town sucks so much," like that's funny, man. Like
Yeah.
that Sean and Monty are singing so beautifully, the most goofiest line in the world, and it was really funny watching them take it professionally in the studio and while not laughing their asses off for what they were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like it's just another one of those things that's like it's got that sing along potential that you just want to belt out, right? Like who doesn't
Yeah,
want to belt that out?
yeah. Especially if people are having fun and they know it already. I
Yeah.
think that one and Playing for Nobody are just going to be magical sing along songs like forever.
Yeah.
In the As long as we're doing it, and probably after, I think there's no way in hell you aren't going to find yourself singing along after you listen to that song just in your own head. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually thinking of Playing for Nobody just like when you were mentioning the harmonies and stuff, because the harmonies on that one are really awesome as well. Like,
yeah.
yeah, just the way that like, yeah, that it comes in with the chorus, and then there's those background like kind of harmonies to it. It's just it's pretty for punk rock. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, we're blessed. Like I am a blessed guy. I play in a band. Like Monty and Sean Hamilton, those two guitar players in our band, those guys can play like there's no tomorrow, but they can sing like angels. Like it's incredible. So it's this neat thing. But because of them and how we work together and stuff, we've really created this sound of JSM. Like it's us the second you hear it. It's just like my dumb yelling vocals are the bad cop, and these beautiful harmonies come in on the choruses and stuff, and that's the good cop, and that's how we play this contrast. And I don't think any other band does it that I know of at all. So this is really our sound, that it's unique to us, and so it's we're very identifiable if you were just walking through the mall and they played us
yeah.
in the speaker at Old Navy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would honestly, I would definitely agree with that, and it it's obvious, or it definitely shows that you guys have been playing together for a while, right? Just like
Yeah,
it is a very distinct sound, and it's punk rock, but it's got like you said, it has like that edge or that intangible factor that it kind of like it's
it's
you
accessible
guys.
to people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
accessible for sure, but it's complex where you want it to be too. For us, like music nerds.
exactly. And I love that say that too. Like, shower me with compliments.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. No, seriously, it's cool that you pick up on it too, because it's not so techy that it loses the accessibility of it. So that's where we always try to walk that fine line. Too, if somebody really knows what's happening in this song, they'll be like, "Whoa, that is so cool." But it's so not overbearing that if somebody doesn't have a clue about anything, they're like, "Oh, I like the chorus,"
Yeah.
and that's just as good or probably more beneficial for the grander success of it. So it's meeting everybody's needs, and
Yeah.
it's a tricky thing, but we try. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you definitely don't want to. I don't know. At least in my experience, you don't want to pander to the hardcore music nerds, because then you're making music that is generally unlistenable for the large amount of people.
yeah, absolutely too. And we're also in a lucky spot where we're not doing this to become famous.
Yeah.
And we're not doing this to pay our mortgages or our rent. We all have day jobs, and we're doing this for the love of it, so we don't have to pander at all. We're just writing these songs because we think they're cool. And once in a while you write a song that might be easy, but it's just fun as hell to play, and the next song is super techy, and it's not because we're like, oh, we need a tech song now. Now we need and we kind of build it. We write different songs every time just to break up the monotony, like I was saying earlier. But I also don't think it's ever constructed that, well, if we write this demographic isn't going to like us. It's just like, let's write these songs, and if my dumb voice is over top of them and you guys are harmonizing, it's going to be us or JSM no matter what is happening behind it. So we can turn anything into our own, and it's a fun, it's the fun reason we do it, and it's cool that we can pull it off. And it's nice enough that we have enough material and enough albums to know that we don't suck. This is fun as hell. Let's have fun, man.
Yeah.
Let's just we're not doing anything wrong here. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something you touched on is like, how you all do have day jobs, and it's not like this isn't. I feel like that comes with a certain amount of freedom. I'm the same way. I have a day job, and I do this for fun, right? And it kind of adds this freedom to your creative project or whatever, because you're not paying attention to, like, honestly, I do these conversations and I post them and I promote them a little bit and then I just leave them. I never look at the analytics or whatever, because if I start doing that, it makes me anxious, and it makes me have thoughts of like, oh, maybe I should try this, and then it takes away the fun out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We do. Well, we post dumb stuff all the time too, and it's like, well, I only had 10 views on YouTube. And it's like, I had 10 views on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like we're not Metallica, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
The fact that 20 people watched us film ourselves do something dumb on your front lawn.
Yeah,
it's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
And maybe that person will think it's cool enough that they'll go listen to us on Spotify, and then that's even cooler, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't. You're right, though. It's just do it. Just make the music. Make your podcast for you, and that's it. And if it becomes the most famous thing in the world, cool. And if it doesn't, that's cool too. There's no wrong route in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
As long as you have the integrity and the positivity, have at it, man.
Yeah. Just enjoy it, right? Enjoy it while it's happening. Because it's supposed to be fun.
Because in 2 years from now, you don't know what's going to happen in this world with you, with anybody. So have fun with it, enjoy it, and realize at the end of the day, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. If I stopped doing everything tomorrow, the world would still happen.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody might be like, I wonder what happened to that guy. Like we're not that important.
Yeah.
As an individual, if I just use Metallica again, but if a huge band like that stopped making records, you'd still have their old records, and your life would still go on. So as long as we're just having fun, like you said, and doing the things you do without pressure, make it work. And it does help that you have a day job, that you're not trying to hustle this for ducats. So
yeah.
Because that's when you're right, that's kind of when it sours the fun out of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I guess, is there any just kind of final things that you'd like to kind of throw out there before we close this out? Or
I like to thank you for being interested in this at all. And the fact that you were interested in 2017 and are still interested now blows me away. And actually, I'm genuinely flattered, and thank you so much. Thank you for actually taking the time to listen to our record. And I love that you love Frugal Man. So if anybody's watching this, you'll probably love Frugal Man too. So buy a record. We're on Bandcamp. And if you live in Calgary, I'll deliver it to your house, and we'll hang out and we'll have driveway beers.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it can get much better than that. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
and I'd love to meet you if I don't know you, and if you're a friend, you buy one anyway. So it's good, another reason to hang out.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. The same goes to you. Just the fact that it was so easy to set this up. It was awesome. It was, sometimes it's a real kind of rigmarole, I guess, trying to get somebody, but it was awesome that this kind of worked out smoothly. And the album's awesome. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to just chat with me.
Cody, I got all the time in the world for you, man. So let me know when you want to have sidewalk beers, man.
Yeah. Awesome. And I'll have all the links and stuff in the episode notes of where people can find your music and your social media and stuff like that. So
yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Awesome.
I appreciate everything. I'm dead serious, man. So.
Yeah. It's been a good time. This was very enjoyable for sure.
Yeah, I hope I didn't natter your ear off there.
Dude, I love it when people natter my ear off, so.
You're buried inside an office, a coffin where you could only be a boss, a parent, a working stiff, failing for all the world to see. You wish all of it was different, but you could never find the time. So you sink, and sink some more as everything falls behind. It all builds up and comes down. Deflection is your favorite game. Might as well look in the mirror. You only have yourself to blame. Friends like me could offer, as if you'd ever take advice. Sad to see you not get better, drown into your own device. Solutions seem so obvious, at least I believe it's true. Maybe give it all up now, I know, but it's not for you. Perhaps tomorrow is different, because today sure is the same. It must be hard to lead, repeating the same steps you came. An abundance of distraction keeps you from being truly strong. If you ever had your own idea, we all know it would be wrong. When your day is over, do you weep to yourself in shame? The tears of disappointment build as they flood your tarnished name. Only half your life has passed by, but it feels like it's almost done. Sooner than later it's over, and then what the fuck have you won? Solutions seem so obvious, at least I believe it's true. Maybe give it all up now, I know, but it's not for you. Solutions seem so obvious, at least I believe it's true. Maybe give it all up
you like this episode of Groove Talk, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Help us break through those evil algorithms and reach the most amount of glorious listeners that we possibly can. For up-to-date information on the show, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can find us at Froggy Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.